Good morning, dear students. In the last class, we studied electric field at a point on the equatorial line of the electric dipole and torque acting on a dipole placed in uniform electric field. So, in this class, let us discuss few more concepts. The first concept is electric charge distribution, which means charges may distribute over the surface of a substance or an object in two ways. Look at the two diagrams, figure 1 and figure 2. When the charges are distributed over the substance, over the surface of a substance or over the surface of an object in random manner or in discrete manner, then it is said to be discontinuous distribution or non-uniform distribution of charge. Suppose the charges are distributed over the surface of a substance uniformly like this, then it is said to be continuous or uniform distribution. As we discussed earlier, electric charges is quantized. What exactly the quantized? Which means on a charged body, the charge is always an integral multiple of magnitude of a charge on a single electron, that is Q is equal to N into E. This equation already we learnt. Look at the equation. Q is equal to N into E. But most of the practical situation, the charge on a charged body is so large as compared to the magnitude of a charge on a single proton or electron. In that situation, the principle of quantization what we used, it is not valid or it is not so convenient. So, in order to understand the discontinuous distribution or non-uniform distribution, we make use of principle of quantization. When you come to the continuous or uniform distribution of charge, the principle of quantization is not so convenient. So, in this situation, charge on a charged body, we are assuming the charge on a charged body is distributed uniformly like this. So, continuous distribution of a charge may be one-dimensional, two-dimensional or three-dimensional. According to that, we have three types of distribution of charge. Look at the three types of distribution of charge: linear charge distribution or linear charge density. Next one, surface charge distribution or surface charge density. Third one, volume charge distribution or volume charge density respectively. Okay. So, these are the three types of distribution of charge over the surface of a substance or over the surface of an object. Let us discuss one by one. The first one is linear charge density. Linear charge density is represented by lambda. What exactly the linear charge density? Look at the statement. When charge is distributed along a line, whether it may be straight or curved, then the charge distribution is called linear charge distribution, which means when the charges are distributed along a line, the line may be a straight line or curved, then the charge distribution is called linear charge distribution. Look at the diagram. In this diagram, the charge Q is uniformly distributed along the wire of length L. I consider the wire or a rod also you can consider, over the or along the line or along the wire, the charge Q is uniformly distributed. So, this is the example for linear charge distribution. This is the figure you can understand. Then what exactly the linear charge density? Linear charge density is defined as charge per unit length. Charge per unit length. What exactly the unit length? How can we understand the unit length? Unit length is nothing but in this length I am considering a line element. Unit length is line element. From here to here, it is unit length. Unit length means 1 meter. So unit length, the magnitude of the unit length, what I consider, for that I can write delta L, because I am considering unit length. This is the magnitude of unit length. In this unit length or line element, what is the quantity of charge? Definitely delta Q. Look at the diagram. What I consider a wire of length L. In this length, I consider line element. What is the magnitude of the line element? Delta L. In this line element, what is the quantity of charge we have? Delta Q. So by using this, we can define linear charge density. Linear charge density can be defined as charge per unit length. This is the unit length. What is the charge per unit length we have? Delta Q. So we can write, instead of writing a capital letter Q, because I consider small q, we can write small letter q itself. So linear charge density is represented by lambda. So according to the statement, charge per unit length, that is delta Q divided by delta L. Linear charge density. Suppose we need, or in order to find the linear charge density along the length L of the wire, then the equation become lambda is equal to, what is the total charge along the length L, Q, divided by, what is the total length of the wire? L, Q divided by L. Then what is the SI unit of linear charge density? SI unit of charge is coulomb, divided by SI unit of length is meter, coulomb per meter. So we can write coulomb meter inverse. So here one thing you can notice, when charge is distributed along a line, straight or curved. So what I explained this for straight line. So what will happen in case of curved? For that, one more example we have. If a charge Q is uniformly distributed over the circle of radius r, then what will be the linear charge density? The linear charge density become Q divided by 2 pi r. So here I can quote, in the place of L what we have? 2 pi r. Here 2 pi r gives circumference of circle. Linear charge density, if I consider a straight line, lambda is equal to Q by L. If I consider a curved surface, lambda is equal to Q divided by 2 pi r, where 2 pi r is circumference of circle. Next one, surface charge density. Surface charge density is represented by sigma. Look at the statement. When charge is distributed over the surface, whether it may be plane surface or curved surface, then the charge distribution is called surface charge distribution. Look at the diagram. The charge Q is distributed over the plane surface of area A. First I consider plane surface. Look at this, whether it may be plane or curved. So in this diagram, the charge Q is uniformly distributed over the plane surface of A. Then we need to find surface charge density. Again the same thing. Surface charge density can be defined as charge per unit area. In linear charge density, we studied that charge per unit length. Here, the charge per unit area. So I need to consider an area element in this plane surface. So I am going to consider one area element like this. So the magnitude of area element is delta A. Magnitude of area element is delta A. So within this area element, the quantity of charges will be delta Q. Surface charge density is represented by sigma. Surface charge density can be defined as charge per unit area. What is the quantity of charge per unit area? Delta Q. So delta Q divided by delta A. Suppose if you are finding surface charge density over the plane surface of area A, then the equation become sigma is equal to Q divided by A. Sigma is equal to Q divided by A. Then what is the SI unit? SI unit of surface charge density, SI unit of charge is coulomb divided by SI unit of area is meter square, length into breadth meter square. So we can write coulomb per meter square. This is for plane surface. So here they are saying when charge is distributed over the surface, whether it may be plane or curved. Look at the example. For example, if the charge Q is uniformly distributed over the surface of the spherical conductor of R, because we have to explain for curved surface also. So in this diagram, it is clearly indicating that the charge Q is uniformly distributed over the surface of a spherical conductor of radius R. When the charge Q is distributed over the surface of the spherical conductor of radius R, then what will be the surface charge density? For that we have one more equation. Sigma is equal to Q divided by 4 pi R square. So here I can quote, in the place of A we have 4 pi R square, where 4 pi R square is surface area of sphere. Surface area of sphere. Then the third one is volume charge density. Volume charge density is represented by rho. Look at the statement. When charge is distributed over the volume of an object, then the charge distribution is called volume charge distribution. Look at the diagram. The charge Q is uniformly distributed over the volume of a sphere, over the volume of the sphere. Again we have to define what exactly the volume charge density. Again here I have to consider volume element. So within this volume of a sphere, I am considering volume element. Look at this. I consider the volume element. What is the magnitude of the volume element? We can write delta V. Look at this. We have written area element delta A. This is volume element delta V. There the first one, line element delta L. So what is the quantity of charge within this volume element? Delta Q. Look at this. Within this area element is delta Q. Here the quantity of charge within the volume element delta V. Okay. So volume charge density is defined as charge per unit volume. The quantity of charge per unit volume gives volume charge density, that is delta Q divided by delta V. Again, suppose if we are talking about volume charge density or the volume of an object, then the equation become rho is equal to Q divided by L. Then what is the SI unit? SI unit of volume charge density is SI unit of charge is coulomb divided by, this is volume charge density is meter cube. So coulomb per meter cube. Meter cube. Coulomb per meter cube. Suppose the charge Q is uniformly distributed over the entire volume of an object or entire volume of the sphere, then what will be the volume charge density? Then the volume charge density become rho is equal to Q divided by 4 by 3 pi r cube. So here I can quote this in the place of V, 4 by 3 pi r cube, where 4 by 3 pi r cube is volume of sphere, the total volume of sphere. Look at this, the second one. If the charge Q is uniformly distributed over the entire volume of the sphere, then volume charge density will be like this. Rho is equal to Q divided by, in the place of V, 4 by 3 pi r cube. So in the we are quoting V is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube, where 4 by 3 pi r cube is a volume of a sphere or total volume of the sphere. So these are the three charge distribution: linear charge distribution, that is in one dimensional; surface charge distribution, two dimensional; and volume charge distribution, three dimensional. Here one thing you can notice, look at this, this row represents volume charge density. But what is the general equation for density? Density is equal to mass by volume, mass by volume. But here in this case, density is equal to mass by dimension I have taken, mass by dimension. This equation I have taken. Why? Because in case of linear charge density, one dimensional; in case of surface charge density, two dimension; in case of volume charge density, three dimension. So only we are using this equation. Density is equal to mass divided by dimension. These are the three types of distribution of charges: linear charge distribution, surface charge distribution, and volume charge distribution. Next concept is Gauss theorem. It is important for 2 marks. What exactly the Gauss theorem? What is the use of Gauss theorem? What does the Gauss theorem says? Gauss theorem deals with total electric flux through any closed surface and net or total electric charge enclosed by the surface. It gives the relation between electric flux through any closed surface and total electric charge which are present inside that closed surface. So we have a particular statement for Gauss theorem. Look at the statement. Gauss theorem states that, or it states that the total electric flux through any closed surface in free space is equal to 1 over epsilon naught times the net is nothing but total charge enclosed by the surface. So it clearly says that it gives the relation between electric flux, a total electric flux through any closed surface, and the net charge which are enclosed in that closed surface. So to understand this Gauss theorem, I am going to consider a closed surface. One closed surface I am considering. This closed surface is called as Gaussian surface. Gaussian surface. Then what exactly the Gaussian surface? Gaussian surface is imaginary closed surface containing charged body. Whether the charged body become one dimensional, two dimensional, or three dimensional. Gaussian surface is nothing but an imaginary closed surface. So according to this Gauss theorem, I consider a closed surface. This closed surface containing many number of charges. For example, I am taking plus Q1, plus Q2, minus Q3, plus Q4 and minus Q5. These are the charges enclosed by the closed surface known as Gauss theorem. So we need to find total electric flux. Total electric flux through a closed surface. So according to this statement, the total electric flux through any closed surface in free space, so we kept in a free space, is equal to 1 over epsilon naught times the total or net charge enclosed by the surface. So according to this statement, I can write the equation like this: total flux is phi is equal to 1 over epsilon naught time total charge enclosed by the surface. Look at this, this is the equation. According to the statement, the total flux through any closed surface is represented by phi in free space is equal to 1 over epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by the surface. You have to concentrate on the charges which are enclosed by the closed surface. So phi is equal to 1 over epsilon naught, within a bracket I will write total charge enclosed by the surface. Focus on the enclosed, plus Q1 plus Q2 minus Q3 plus Q4 minus Q5. So these are the charges which are enclosed by the closed surface. So I can write phi is equal to 1 over epsilon naught. Instead of writing Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, the total charge I will write as Q. So this equation is also be written as like this: phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So this is the equation. Phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. And one more thing you have to notice here: Gauss theorem is only applicable for closed surface. If the surface is open somewhere like this, then it is not said to be, it is a closed surface. So if it is open like this, then Gauss theorem is not holds good. It should be closed. And one more thing, suppose the charges are present outside the surface like this. Here I have written minus Q phi no. Suppose outside the surface we have Q6 plus Q6 and plus Q7, means Gauss theorem is not holds good for the charge which are present outside the closed surface. So this is the statement and this is the equation. Phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. And we need a proof for this or verification of Gauss theorem. We have to derive that phi is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Look at the proof. To verify the Gauss theorem, look at this diagram. I consider a positive charge, a positive point charge. This positive point charge producing electric field around it, So I considered it is in the form of sphere. So on the surface of the sphere, you have to notice one thing. What I have written, the circle, it is not inside the sphere, that is on the surface of the sphere. On the surface of the sphere, I marked a point P. So this is on the surface of the sphere, I marked a point P. I am finding the electric field at a point P due to this positive charge. So electric field at a point P due to the positive charge is directed outwards, because I consider a positive charge. The direction of electric field due to the positive charge is directed outwards. And to this area element which I consider on the surface of the sphere, I am writing area vector. Area vector, about the area vector we discussed in the previous class itself. Area vector is nothing but the straight line perpendicular to the area element. Straight line which is perpendicular to the area element is nothing but area vector, that is delta A, because area element means delta A. So look at this, the angle between the area vector and the electric field is 0. Both are parallel to each other. So theta is equal to 0 degree. So electric field at a point B due to positive charge is given by E is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by the distance between the positive charge and the P is taken as R. So it becomes R squared. 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R squared. We can make it as equation number 1. Then, since the Gauss theorem deals with the electric flux, here I am finding the electric flux through the area element. Electric flux through the area element. Electric flux through area element. Area element is delta A is given by, since we are finding the electric flux through the area element, it would be delta phi. What is the equation for electric flux? EA cos theta. Since we are talking about electric flux through area element, E delta A cos theta. Look at this. What is the theta value we have? 0 degree. Theta is equal to 0 degree cos 0 1. What is the remaining thing? Delta phi is equal to E into delta A. E into delta A. This equation gives electric flux through area element, only this area element. Like this we have many area elements are there. We can consider many area element. But according to the Gauss theorem, we need total electric flux. Now I am writing total electric flux. Total electric flux, that is phi, through the closed surface is given by, so total electric flux is phi is equal to summation of delta phi. Summation of delta phi. The remaining thing I will write here. So total flux I am calculating, phi is equal to summation of delta phi. What is the delta phi we have? E into delta A. For this we can give a equation number 2. So phi is equal to summation of delta A. What is the value of delta A from the equation number 2? E into delta A. You can notice one thing. The electric field due to the positive point charge is constant at all the point. So I am taking outside. Phi is equal to E summation of delta A. Here the summation of delta A is nothing but total surface area of the sphere. Total surface area of the sphere. So phi is equal to E into total surface area of sphere. Phi is equal to E into 4 pi R squared, surface area of the sphere. Then we have a value for E from the equation number 1. So we can substitute. E phi is equal to, what is the value for E? 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square into 4 pi R square. So 4 get cancelled, pi get cancelled, and R squared get cancelled. Then phi is equal to, what is the remaining thing in numerator? Q into 1 is Q divided by, in denominator we have epsilon naught. Hence it is proved. This is the verification of Gauss theorem. Gauss theorem is very important for 2 marks. On the basis of Gauss theorem, we have applications of Gauss theorem. Applications of Gauss theorems are most important. 3 derivation. We have a 3 derivation on the basis of Gauss theorem. So in the next class, we will discuss the applications of Gauss theorem. I hope everyone are watching the videos. Please do watch the videos, because there is a link between each and every concept. You have to watch each and every videos, then only you can able to understand easily. So next class we will discuss the applications of Gauss theorem. Thank you.